Hello, my name is Ewestermeyer and I'm in Nursing 323, Community and Public Health Nursing. I am doing the Zimmerman Community Project. Your story matters. Community. Communities can consist of a wide and diverse set of actors, from geographically defined groups and local governance structures to users of health services. Zimmerman, Minnesota. The village of Lake Fremont was incorporated in 1910, and Lake Fremont was named for the Western explorer John C. Fremont. But in 1967, the town was renamed the City of Zimmerman, named after Moses Zimmerman, a local farmer who was influential in promoting the idea of the Great Northern Railroad coming through the area. Often described as the gateway to the Sherburne National Wildlife Refuge, Zimmerman provides a panoramic view of nature at its best. Outdoor recreational activities in or near Zimmerman include fishing, hiking, camping, and boating during the summer months, as well as skiing, sledding, or snowmobiling in the winter. According to the United States Census Bureau of 2020, Zimmerman's population was 6,189. During my windshield survey, I did a lot of driving around and noticed a lot of different things in my community that I never paid attention to. So, first of all, Zimmerman is located in Sherburne County, Minnesota. It's in central Minnesota. We boast an area of 3.56 square miles. It's about a 45-minute drive northwest of Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minnesota. It has 3 townships that surround it or are a part of it in some way, and that's Livonia, Baldwin, and Orrock. And the nearest cities are Elk River, which is about 11 miles south of us down 169, and Princeton, Minnesota, which is about 9 to 11 miles north of us off 169. So some of the more interesting things I noticed about it was that we used to have a Fairview Medical Clinic. We no longer have a medical clinic, and I wouldn't have noticed that if I didn't do the windshield survey. It's actually turning into like a multi-building. Like there's going to be an O'Reilly Auto Parts on one side of it, so I'm curious to find out what the other part's going to be. But so yeah, we used to have a clinic and now we don't. Realize that on my windshield survey. So let's talk about some of the city limits or things that are involved with Zimmerman. So there is transportation needed to get around. You need vehicles, probably are the most important or needed part of the transportation. We are in a rural area. Bikes, walking. There's also 3 gas stations, a Holiday, a Speedway, and a Casey's General Store. Restaurants include some sit-down restaurants like Papa's Italian, which is really good pasta and pizza. The China House, which is excellent Chinese food, especially for living in a rural area. And then the Zimmerman Bar and Grill that also has Angino's attached to it, which is another Italian eatery. And Vita Bella, which is also a fancy Italian restaurant, and it's very delicious. Notice the theme here. A lot of Italians, and there's a lot of Irish out here as well, from like their descent. So a lot of Caucasian descent. It seems like there's a lot of Italians and Irish that have settled here. There is fast food here too. Hardee's, Domino's Pizza, Dairy Queen, Subway, you name it. Also, some of the businesses within the city are like Hardware Hank, Dollar General, nail and hair shops. You have about 3 or 4 antique shops, a couple coffee shops or coffee houses, a laundromat, and 2 town bars. And actually the laundromat, every Tuesday, all the churches within the city of Zimmerman take up like a monthly theme where once a week they go in on a Tuesday and they give 4 free loads to anybody who's in the laundromat doing it. And this rotates with every church it's like every month. So every church participates where they all go in and, one month goes to this church and another month goes to that, where every Tuesday you go in and they give you 4 free loads of anybody who's in there doing laundry, and they have signs posted on the laundromat doors so everybody knows to go in there on a Tuesday. So that's a great community resource, especially for low income within our community. Some of the community organizations in Zimmerman are like the Chamber of Commerce, the City Hall, the Community Center, the American Legion. We also have the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. We do have a Boys and Girls Club. We also have Boys and Girl Scouts. Other organizations and public service centers in or around Zimmerman are located in some of the townships, like Livonia has a few. Orrock and Baldwin are little smaller townships, but Elk River, the city of Elk River, the city of Princeton, and any other surrounding area, you're looking at Big Lake, Monticello. At that point, you have to drive a little further to get into some more organizations, but really good organizations within the Sherburne County area. So these are just some of them. So community services and some health and safety here in Zimmerman, just a few things, or a few of them are the home health care services. We actually have one home health care service called Northland Home Health Care Service, and they provide services to vulnerable adults and children, as well as developmentally disabled adults and children. We also have plenty of family and youth ministries that are provided in Zimmerman. Zimmerman has 8 churches within their city limits and the surrounding townships. You have the St. John Lutheran Church, the Zimmerman Community Church is who I went through and who was my community project and my liaison I met through there. Refuge Evangelical Free Church. You have the Faith Community Lutheran Church, Restoring Lives Community Church, Connection Center Church, Christ Our Light Catholic Parish, Free Grace United. Basically, a lot of Christian and Catholic churches here in Zimmerman. Goes to tell you about our community. We are very religious. We have a very religious background. We also have some mental health services, and most of those are probably located in Elk River, which is the biggest city close to us. Health-wise, there is no clinic or medical building. As I stated earlier, we used to have the Fairview Medical Clinic right here in the heart of the city of Zimmerman, just off County Road 4, the main street down Zimmerman. And doing my windshield survey, I realized they weren't there, and now it's going to be an O'Reilly Auto Parts and another business. So in order to go to a clinic or the nearest hospital is in Princeton, but in order to go to any other clinics, you'd have to go to Elk River or Anoka, Big Lake, or even further. So you would have to do a little bit of a drive. There's also the safety here in Zimmerman. We don't have like a police station or like a sheriff's station, but the sheriffs drive around, the county sheriffs, and then you also have Elk River Police and stuff that will come out here if need be. We have the Zimmerman-Livonia Fire Station. It's a joint fire district that covers the city of Zimmerman and the township of Livonia, as well as other local townships or areas that surround Zimmerman. And then we also have one ambulance garage, as a matter of fact. It's the North Ambulance Service, and they house one ambulance that was built in 2005. It's a Braun Type 3 truck, and it's upgraded with all the sophisticated equipment, and it's actually pretty neat. I didn't even know it was a 2005. It looks like a earlier vehicle. Like, it's pretty updated when I seen it, so that's pretty neat that we have one of those in our community. Community assessment. A community health assessment, sometimes called a CHA, also known as Community Health Needs Assessment, sometimes called a CHNA, refers to a state, tribal, local, or territorial health assessment that identifies key health needs and issues through systemic, comprehensive data collection and analysis. So quickly here, the demographic structure of Zimmerman, the median age around here is 32 years. Birth rates are up 12% for females between the ages of 15 and 50, and that's just in the last few years, according to Census Reporter. Median household income is about $75,000 to $85,000 per year, and that's including mom and dad making money together. The average commute for work is anywhere from 30 to 35 minutes, and as you can see, I have some graphs. Women over here, they outpace men about 54 to 44, somewhere around that, 56 to 44. And then some of our racial composition, as you can see, Caucasian or white is pretty large around here, but we do have some African Americans, some Asian, and Hispanics is probably the second largest community we have. Okay, so partners and resources. So I but partnered with a church known as the Zimmerman Community Church. And my liaison was Katie Bowers, and she's the lead youth pastor at ZCC. Katie Bowers acted as my liaison in this project, and she was instrumental in providing information on the community and what issues or concerns the community faces. She was a mentor in providing the means to connect with the youth and to provide me with the information of what types of mental health issues the youth in our community face. She was critical in the education of youth through ministries and implementation of youth ministries. She provides spiritual counseling, therapeutic resources, and treatment options. She also helped me in my community project with the at-risk youth population, and she helped me to understand and recognize that they are probably most in need of mental health education, funding, and resources. Another partner was Esther. She's another youth pastor. She is what the youth at the church dub as the therapist, and she helps with weekly youth night gatherings. She provides youth ministry, teaching, mental health counseling, social therapy, and she's there like 24/7. The youth can call her any time of day. She is there for them, and so she, I guess, dubbed the therapist at ZCC. Also, Chris, he's the child pastor, and he watches and educates the younger children within ZCC, and he provides support and counseling to those children that need someone to talk with. So, and he also provides youth ministries as well. Pretty neat. I was pretty lucky to have the partners and resources of Zimmerman Community Church to help me with my project. So my health diagnosis was risk for deficient knowledge within the community amongst the youth, ages 12 to 17 years, related to living in low-income households and peer isolation or belonging to a group or social setting as evidenced by mental health issues like anxiety and depression plaguing the at-risk youth population within my community. So some little headlines here. Social economic status is often measured as a combination of education, income, and occupation. So with the low-income youth in my community, it rings true that socioeconomic status is a big deal in any community, especially with low income, and mental health is a very high prevalence among any community. Everybody experiences mental health at one point. The low income community or at-risk youth in my project experience it probably a little bit more, or it's just a little more prevalent within them because social inequalities are associated with increased risk of many common mental disorders. And some of those, as stated in Herzing University online course, Module 13, was the in-community-based studies that over 70% reported positive associations between a variety of poverty measures and common mental disorders, and 6% reported negative associations. So mental health is out there, and everybody deals with it. So that's why I kind of wanted it to kind of be the headliner of my project and where I kind of wanted to go with the at-risk youth and educating them, socializing with them, gathering with them, talking with them, and coming up with a resource that they could use. So I implemented like a pocket card, and I'll show you guys that in a few seconds. So my community health plan, first of all, we're going to provide resources for at-risk youth to utilize in times of crisis or when in need of counseling, education, or mental health concerns or issues. My first goal was after completion of the mentorship that I would have a better understanding of physical and mental health crises that affect the at-risk youth within my community. My second goal was to provide education to the students on mental health and a pocket card with information and phone numbers for local area resources that are available to help them with things such as anxiety, depression, or suicidal ideation or thoughts. And my third goal was that by the end of the calendar year, the ZCC community would report a decrease in the amount of mental health circumstances or instances with the at-risk youth population within the Zimmerman community. Community interventions. The nurse's role in community mental health is multifaceted, involving advocacy, education, case management, collaboration, and community involvement. And this was found in the Herzing University Module 13. What I did was I engaged and educated the at-risk youth within the Zimmerman Community Church on mental health, recognizing signs and symptoms of anxiety, depression, and understanding the needs of the youth within my community. I participated in question and answer type forum and talked about some of the real struggles the youth face growing up in the community. And I had the pleasure of doing this for 3 separate Wednesdays. So it was really a neat experience for me to get involved with the kids within the community, especially the at-risk ones. And what was really cool is that we had this town fair known as the Wild West Days during Memorial Day weekend, and some of the at-risk youth, we even recognized each other at this Wild West Days, and it was really cool to see them and say hi to them and even talk to them there outside of the church and within the community. Another thing is that I developed a pocket resource guide for the youth. I provided phone numbers and websites that they, or anyone actually, could utilize in times of mental health crises, as well as recognizing the signs and symptoms of things like anxiety and depression. Community evaluation. So goal number 1, I feel like I partially met. I understand now that mental health treatment and overall success for recovery will always be a quote unquote work in progress. So keeping an open mind and an open heart and having the willingness to listen is the best way to start the treatment process. And it's always going to be, like I said, a work in progress. So for me, I felt like I partially met my goal because am I ever really going to understand mental health? Because it is multifaceted and it's always going to change and every person is different. So as long as I keep an open mind, open heart, an open ear, I can help those hopefully I can help those that are suffering from mental health. My second goal I feel like I met because I provided a mental health pocket card for recognizing the signs and symptoms of anxiety and depression. And I also, part of that card was giving the youth their phone numbers and resources on the other side of the pocket card. And I also gave some of these out during my last kind of meeting with the youth, and then I also have some of them sitting on one of the display tables literally as soon as you walk into the front doors of the Zimmerman Community Church. Goal number 3, I want to say right now it's unmet. This goal has not yet been met because it was a long-term goal and it was settled to be by the end of the year. And it would take some time to do research and documentation. Since working with ZCC, they've asked me to actually come back in from time to time and have more education sessions and question and answer forums with the youth. And maybe then I'll be able to see if there is a decrease in mental health issues over time with the youth. My conclusion. Mental health is all around us and affects people of all different backgrounds, religious, cultures, creeds, and ethnicities. The stigma that surrounds mental health is a huge reason why many who suffer from it don't receive the proper treatment. Some of the most vulnerable people within our own communities are the low-income and at-risk youth. Organizations like the Zimmerman Community Church provide the resources, tools, spiritual guidance, and teachings needed to help the at-risk youth live a quality, healthy lifestyle and become productive members of society. Okay, so here's my appendix A and B. You see 2 of the different sides. I titled my pocket cards, Your Stories Matter. And the first one was the Mental Health Pocket Guide, and it had the resources. So it had things like the Central Minnesota Mental Health Center, Timber Bay Youth Outreach Organization, or the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. The other side of Your Story Matters was recognizing signs and symptoms of anxiety and depression. So as you can see there is the two sides of my pocket cards. And here on Appendix C, you can see my little display there with my little card holder, and I have some of the pocket cards sitting out there and some of them taped to the wall. And this is on the desk right when you walk in the front door, just slightly to the right of the front door at Zimmerman Community Church. And again, these can be used by anybody, not just the youth. So I think they're very informational and helpful. And here are my references that I used to guide me through my PowerPoint presentation. Thank you.